I want to add a couple of comments to the discussion around the allegations of sexual abuse that Russell Brand has been subject to. I think a lot of the commentary has been more or less that this was a coordinated attack against Russell Brand because he's speaking out against the powers that be. And that could be true. But before we get into the allegations themselves, which we will talk about in a second, because a lot of people are saying, well, he was really promiscuous back then. Could these things be true? I think it's really important to note a couple of things. Russell Brand, as of today, has been demonetized on YouTube. He has over 6 million followers. This is what the New York Times reported. They said YouTube suspended the comedian and actor Russell Brand on Tuesday from making money from videos posted to the social media platform 3 days after British news organizations published an investigation in which several women accused Mr. Brand of sexual assault. The channel is a potentially significant source of income for Mr. Brand, who was earning money through advertisements and paid promotions. A spokeswoman for YouTube said in an email that Mr. Brand, whose channel on the platform has 6.6 million subscribers, was suspended for violating YouTube's, quote, creator responsibility policy. The spokeswoman said, if a creator's off-platform behavior harms our users, employees, or ecosystem, we take action to protect the community. The spokeswoman did not respond to an inquiry about how long the suspension would last. And this is a good place to start unpacking what these allegations are these true, what the implications of these allegations should be, and what they should not be. Because let me tell you, the implications of Russell Brand being demonetized on YouTube because a news organization published allegations from anonymous sources, this is it's a frightening situation. I hate to use the word frightening, but the implications that this has for all men, Russell Brand has not been accused by any law enforcement in any country of committing a crime. He's not even been notified that he's the subject of an investigation. He's not been convicted of anything. These are accusations from anonymous sources, and based only on these accusations, YouTube has potentially cut off a significant source of income. Now, some people are going to say, well, Russell Brand is really wealthy. That doesn't matter. Okay, that may be the case. It still doesn't make it right for YouTube to do this. But think about this in the broader context. Think about your husband, your brother, your son. Maybe it's you yourself as a man listening to this. Think about the implications. Can you imagine being fired from your job, having your salary suspended because an anonymous source went to a news organization and made an allegation against you without even stating their name? This is crucifixion in the public square without any due process of law. And to say that this is wrong and immoral and a dangerous, dangerous precedent is the understatement of the year. This has the same tenor as the Brett Kavanaugh allegations, but at least with Brett Kavanaugh, they trotted out some woman, a totally nutty, crazy woman, but at least they put a name to her and a face to her, even though the left wanted to destroy Kavanaugh's political and legal career. They wanted him to be removed as a nominee for the Supreme Court before these allegations were before he was afforded due process, before he had a chance to defend himself. They turned out, of course, not to be true, but this is the same playbook. This is the Me Too movement. Believe all women, even if the women don't have a name. This is incredibly frightening. And this should be the primary way that we're looking at this situation right now. It does seem to be a coordinated attack. Again, we'll get to whether these allegations have any substance in a moment, because all of these things can be true regardless of whether the allegations are credible or not credible. But this is the playbook. The playbook that they follow every single time is the leftists, and this, of course, is the powers that be in a coordination with media outlets. They identify someone they consider to be a traitor, right? Russell Brand used to be a mainstream Hollywood figure. He's not conservative. He's kind of red-pilled now, but he wasn't 10 years ago when he was at the height of his fame in Hollywood. But now he's defected to the bad side, according to the left. He's red-pilled. He's talking to conservatives. He had Tucker Carlson on his show, for goodness sake. And because he has such an enormous audience, because he had such an enormous following in Hollywood, the left views him as a threat. For example, there are people saying that Russell Brand's appearance on the Bill Maher show, in which he castigated Big Pharma, is a perfect example of why those in positions of power want to silence Russell Brand. So take a look at this video first.
Yes.
Out of respect for you and your show, I've brought some facts. Would you? If you like, they're actually...
You just get out of here. This is not the place.
I thought you'd like facts.
We love facts. I love facts.
I wouldn't have mentioned it. I'm English, and you know that politeness is our fundamental religion.
Yeah.
But they do pertain to this issue, so may I say some of them?
Please,
if they inconvenience you, I'll stop saying them. The pandemic created at least 40 new big pharma billionaires. Pharmaceutical corporations like Moderna and Pfizer made $1,000 of profit every second from the COVID-19 vaccine. More than two-thirds of Congress received campaign funding from pharmaceutical companies in the 2020 election. Pfizer chairman Albert Bourla told Time magazine in July 2020 that his company was developing a COVID vaccine for the good of humanity, not for money. And of course, Pfizer made $100 billion in profit in 2022. And may I just mention, finally, and this is also a fact, that you, the American public, funded the development of that. The German public funded the BioNTech vaccine. When it came to the profits, they took the profits. When it came to the funding, you paid for the funding. All I'm querying is this.
Yes.
Is if you have an economic system in which pharmaceutical companies benefit hugely from medical emergencies, where a military-industrial complex benefits from war, where energy companies benefit from energy crises, you are going to generate states of perpetual crisis, where the interests of ordinary people separate from the interests of the elite.
I think that's a perfect example of Russell Brand challenging the narratives. Bill Maher was so uncomfortable. You can see that he just couldn't wait to shut Russell Brand up. So the question, is there a motivation to silence Russell Brand? Is there a motivation to ruin his reputation? The answer to that question is obviously yes. He has a show on Rumble. It's, like I said, it's not necessarily conservative, but it's, I would call it red-pilled. He's been red-pilled. He doesn't act the way that he acted when he was in the height of his fame in Hollywood. So this is the playbook. First, to identify a traitor. They've identified Russell Brand, someone who is a threat to their agenda. Russell Brand is clearly threatening their agenda. And then you rely on anonymous sources because it's difficult for people who are accused to defend themselves against accusations when they don't know who's accusing them. How can they provide context? How can they provide exculpatory evidence if they don't know who their accusers are? Well, these accusations are entirely from women who are anonymous sources, and it's simply unfair. Even if allegations are detailed, even if they seem like they might have credibility, we cannot exist in a system where someone who is accused does not have an opportunity to defend himself, especially when the punishment, the cultural and societal punishment, is as severe as what they're trying to do to Russell Brand. So we cannot take allegations from anonymous sources with credibility if they're accepted as a conviction. You'll also notice that in this playbook by the radical left, they always bring allegations of incidents that, again, were alleged to have happened 20 years ago. One of the anonymous sources making this allegation against Brand said that whatever happened in 2003. That's 20 years ago. That's 2 decades ago. How do you expect to have an investigation where you uncover the truth, you were able to establish what did happen or what didn't happen when it was 20 years ago?